It seems crazy. You don't have to be an accountant. You don't have to be a CPA, an EA. You can have no tax certification or education, and you can still be paid to do other people's taxes.
Man, just tell us really, I guess to start with, who are those people that do taxes? Like really?
We like to call them accountants, CPAs, and a lot of CPAs and accountants do people's taxes, and it's kind of become the de facto standard. It's like, oh, I gotta find a CPA. Like we hear all the time, like, well, do you have a CPA that I can use? And I think we need to really understand who should be preparing your taxes. Like who's the best?
That's what concerns me is like the kid at H&R Block doesn't look qualified at all. But when I think about America, like so many people walk into those little tax preparation places this time of year. And I don't understand how it is that guy is able to file taxes and so is a CPA, right? That makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. So the most Americans with a JOB, their taxes aren't that difficult. And in fact, any AI program can do your taxes once you put the stuff in there. So the kid at Jackson Hewitt or Liberty or H&R Block, like you said, it's just not that hard. You take what's your income and they're just sitting there putting it into fields on a computer program. Here's your standard deduction. Are you going to itemize? You have kids, you have dependents. How much did you pay in? I mean, it's very, very simple to do taxes. I mean, anybody can do simple W-2 taxes and make a few $100s. And, I've said many times that everybody should have tax preparation in their portfolio, whether they do it or not. Maybe we'll have time to talk about what an EFIN is and how you can actually get paid to have someone else do other people's taxes. So it's not hard to do somebody with a job. Now, maybe they've got a 401k or maybe they have an HSA or something like that, but none of that's hard. It doesn't take a 4-year degree and a massive exam to be a CPA to do that kind of level taxes. And that's where those companies really, make bank. And because they can charge you whatever it is, $300, $400, $500, $600, depending on what it is. And they pay that guy $20 an hour, $25 an hour. And then it's only going to take them 2 or 3 hours. So $60. And then Jackson Hewitt takes the other $300. What a great racket. So that's kind of how that works. Most people having their taxes done, honestly, you could just save the money and do it yourself. It's just not hard. Unless you start getting into real estate, and certainly on the business side, things can get more complicated. But even then, one of the things that we're always talking about is, look, you may not have to do your own taxes and you may not want to, but having an understanding of how taxation works for you could be the big difference between just kind of handing things over to somebody and then you really discovering that, hey, I'm paying 40% tax. And since I'm willing to do my own, I've discovered some other things. I only have to pay 25%. So we're going to talk about some of that. But so to answer your question, most people's taxes are so easy to do. And by the way, anybody can prepare taxes. Anybody. It seems crazy. You don't have to be an accountant. You don't have to be a CPA, an EA. You can have no tax certification or education, and you can still be paid to do other people's taxes. Now, there's only one caveat to that, and you have to register with the IRS, a thing called a PTIN, Personal Tax Identification Number, PTIN. Costs about $20 a year. There's no background check. There's no test. You just have to file. Now, the reason they do that is because not too many years ago, nobody really thought about stealing people's social security numbers. Right. Maybe 30 years ago and before. So when you were a tax preparer, you would then, when it says at the bottom of the form, put if you're the paid tax preparer, put your identifying numbers on there, and people would put their socials. Well, if you were a tax preparer now, you wouldn't dream of putting your social security number on someone else's tax return, because then they'll see it and go, oh, thanks for your social. So they have a PTIN number that replaces you as a professional tax person, your social. So you put your PTIN now down and the IRS goes, oh, okay, we know who that is. So if there's a problem, they know how to, get a hold of you. But anybody can do it. In fact, the law says that the IRS is forbidden from ruling on who can do tax prep. They're forbidden. They can't come to your door and go, well, you were preparing taxes and you don't have the certification. Nope, not possible. And since there's no other enforcement agency of the Treasury in that regard, no one can tell you can't prepare taxes. Now, the caveat is, hey, don't commit fraud, don't defraud people, don't do things that Circular 231 say you can't do, and all that other stuff. But you can get paid to do other people's taxes. And if you want to take it 3 hours of education, I promise, to learn how to do most people's taxes. You say, hey, I'll do your taxes for whatever, and whatever. Now you got a little side hustle during tax season. So,
well, speaking of taxes, like I know so many people, their guy doesn't even call them back, right? That's a whole thing that, like, when you try to call, like, you won't ever hear from that man. So I don't know. I just wonder what that's about. And is there just really any governing of this entire process? Because it doesn't really sound like it, which is kind of interesting for something that's so important every year.
It's a racket. Tax prep is a racket. There's so many parts of tax preparation. I'm not even talking about tax planning or estate planning, which is another whole racket. But if you think about it, first of all, taxation in America is new. We haven't been taxed for more than 110 years, not even that much. Yeah, maybe about that. So, and America is a lot older than that. So this is all new taxation in America to Americans. So everything that happens in the tax system has to abide by the Bill of Rights, is what I want to say. It has to abide by the Bill of Rights, which is there's no ability to accuse somebody or create a charge unless there's evidence. So the only people that can say that they owe tax are the people. Unlike in other countries where they actually send you an invoice, like, we saw you made this much money and here's what you owe. That sounds a lot easier. So their taxes generally, there's all kinds of crazy things, but they're like, here's your bill. You can either fill out your taxes and show us that we were wrong and then do all this stuff, or just pay it and move on. That sounds a lot easier than what we have to do. But there's so much freedom involved in filling out tax forms because we're the ones that get to say what we owe. Now, of course, the IRS gets to review it under an audit if they think we're not right, but we're the ones that have to do the work. We're the ones that are responsible. And that's what liberty is all about. We don't get charged unless there's an eyewitness account. Who are the only eyewitnesses? Us, not the IRS. So the industry is in a horrible, horrible place. And if you were a business owner and you hired a vendor to do something for you, you said, oh, I want you to drive the truck full of goodies to this delivery, this sale, the person who bought the stuff, and then I want you to drive it back and be back by 6. What would happen if that guy drove to Cancun and then came back 4 or 5 days later and was like, yeah, sorry, I did deliver the stuff, but there's a $2,500 gas bill and it's 3 days late. And there's some extra fees that you now have to pay because I decided to go to Cancun. Sorry, but you need to pay me anyway. And you do pay them. Would that ever happen? It would never happen. No one would ever, hire that vendor again. And you would probably have to sue them. Except in the world of tax prep,
I think in 48 hours, I would have called the truck in as stolen. That's what it would be. When he came back, it wouldn't be a matter of payment. It'd be a matter of the law waiting on him. So,
yeah, the low jack has got him at the border before he goes south.
For sure. Yeah.
Exactly. So but this is what we do every year with our taxes. We hand them over to somebody who we have no oversight on. And we pay them whether they do a good job or not. We don't know if they do a good job or not. And they come back with, well, now you're going to pay 45% taxes. Aren't you glad? That's down from 46 last year. I'll still need my $5,000, please. And you're into it for what? That's half of our profits on one guy or gal that we think did a good job. We don't know. And we sit there and go, I guess this is just how it is. I have to hire a truck guy. They're going to go to Cancun or Tijuana for a few days. I guess that's how it works. That's why this industry is in such bad place. Worse, people expect, I don't know how this really happened. I haven't been around in the industry long enough to remember what it was like 30 years ago. So maybe it was different 30 years ago. But now we say, Americans, oh, if you want a tax person, you hire a CPA. No, that's crazy. That's like saying, oh, I need to go to court, so I should hire a paralegal. Well, you can, and that's fine. And maybe, given the experience of a paralegal, a judge might allow it. Maybe it'd be up to the judge. But wouldn't you want to hire an attorney who was actually skilled in court proceedings, not just somebody who knows how to push documents? Yes, you would hire an attorney, not a paralegal. Now, look, I'm not going to diss CPAs because CPAs they got 4-year degrees. Some of them have very unique specialties, forensic accounting and all kinds of crazy things. And they really, really, really understand accounting. That's why they're CPAs, Certified Public Accountants, not CPTEs. They're not certified public tax experts.